Good, out, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Darla Jones from Darla Jones LLC, a proud constituent of the 37th District. And this evening, we are bringing the faces to the names that you see on your mail-in ballots. So I would like to formally introduce each and every one by their own admission, starting with you.
Just names right now.
Name.
Todd Lombardo. Thank you, everyone. Glad to be here today.
Baltazar Pedalizo, thank you for having me.
Elizabeth Fenner, great to be here.
Steve Hill, proud citizen of 37th Congressional District.
Thank you. I think we could just, because I have a mic right here. So these are our candidates that are on this ballot. And the reason why this forum is so important is to understand who are behind the names, what faces, what mindset. So I'm going to ask a series of questions for the candidates. And either way it goes, whoever feel like they can answer each one, we'll give you guys 2 minutes. And I'm going to start off by saying this. Who brought you to this campaign? Was it out of frustration or a vision?
I guess I'll go first since I have the mic in my hand. So yes, my name is Todd Lombardo, and I am a resident of Congressional District 37, and I have been for years. I'm a small business owner, and I'm also an LGBTQ American, and I've also been a political volunteer for a number of years. I started in 2008 with the Proposition 8 campaign, the No Hate campaign, which was the anti-gay marriage effort here in California. And over that time, for many years, I have text banked and phone banked and done all the things, door knocking, that you could imagine doing. So always been a volunteer. I've never been a career politician, but after the 2024 election, I was really quite beside myself. As a Democrat, I looked at the Democrats losing the House, the Senate, and the White House, and having very little curiosity about why that happened. And I realized that, okay, I can't keep volunteering for this organization. I either have to put my head in the sand for a little while and walk away, or I gotta go do something. And my mom's advice was always, if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself. So I ended up deciding to run for Congress here in District 37 because I don't think the Democratic Party understands the moment, and I don't think we're getting the results we need. When I look at grocery prices, gas prices, housing, healthcare, the way we treat our immigrant neighbors, our democracy, not a single one is going in the right direction. Not a single one.
Thank you so much for that. I guess I'll just come around through the back and make it simpler.
Could you repeat the question for me?
The question is, what brought you to this campaign? Was it out of frustration or mere vision?
My name is Baltazar Pedalizo, and it was both, actually. I ran for this office in 2022. I'm a resident here since 2020. I live in on what they call South Central Los Angeles, which is on 39th and Van Ness. So I've been here quite a while. And my frustration is that we have USC, we have Loyola, we have the LA Football Club, we have the Intuit Dome, we have the Rams here, we have USC here, football team, etc. We have all these things. We have LA Live, etc. But what I hate to see, having been a veteran, having been in war zones, having traveled a little bit around the world, unfortunately not in the best places, but nonetheless, I hate to see this big disparity between rich and poor, those that have and those that have not. And as you go lower from Westchester, Culver City, it just gets worse as you go down. So that can be done. And after the riots, I always thought, well, millions and billions of dollars have been dumped into this district and nothing's improved. So where's the money going? How's the money being spent? And is it being spent on things that are worthwhile to anybody? Can say, hey, do you have a tangible deliverable? I'll give you, for instance. When we were in the Eden fires, that's what these medals are for. This is the Carnegie Lifesaver and the American Red Cross. We always ask any of the politicians there, any people that are helping, can you point to anybody that you've helped in Altadena? Anybody that you can say, hey, I've helped you and I've helped you. Can you testify to that? Can you give us video testimony? People will always go out of their way to do that. And the same should be said anywhere here when you're dealing with public dollars. So in summary, it was frustration and vision. And I think this district, of all districts, this is the most robust district in the state of California. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Fenner here. My journey to this office, to this stage, to this race probably started 10 years ago in 2015 when I joined an organization called Citizens Climate Lobby to address climate change. It was just beginning to be on the radar. And there was a policy that would tax carbon and give the revenue of that tax back to households. And we took it to Congress. I've been to DC at least 12 times, once a year for sure, a couple of other times as well. We met with Republican and Democratic offices. And my vision for change, for addressing climate change, making us cleaner, greener, more fair, turned to frustration as I saw that we couldn't pass the legislation. I'll go on to that more later, but my vision also propels me. I love California 37. It's supremely diverse. And I'd have to disagree that I think that it gets worse, the idea that it gets worse from Culver City to the east. I think it gets different and it gets better from one neighborhood to another. And I visited from all the way to the south to 108th Street, the southern border, to the northern border, to the east, all the way to Alameda. And you know that the concentration of children in California 37 is in the southeast. But that area gets the least amount of resources and attention from us. I look forward to getting it more attention. Vision and frustration is a constant, and let's keep it moving.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve Hill here. United States Marine Corps veteran, retired correctional peace officer. I worked at 2 different maximum security prisons, one being CCI, which is California Correctional Institution at Tehachapi, the other being CSP LAC, which is California State Prison, Los Angeles County. I've also appraised real estate. I had my own personal business for the last 20 years. And my motivation for being here is totally out of frustration. Our government is broken and corrupt. And if we keep electing the same type of politicians and expecting different results, we are demonstrating the definition of insanity. We need to start holding these politicians accountable. As I live right down the street from Skid Row. And for this condition, this human condition, to sustain itself and to happen for over the decades that I've been in the Los Angeles area, it demonstrates a pure dysfunction of government. And my vision is to do something. Our tax code is broken. We need to start taxing the corporations. We need to get money out of politics, special interest groups, and I'm running as a no party preference candidate. That means I am neither conservative or liberal, red, blue, Democrat, Republican, blood, or Crip. I have no gang affiliation whatsoever. Our government is broken, and I'm here to fix it. Like they say, if you want somebody to fight for you, send a Marine.
Hold that thought, Mr. Hill. I have another question for you that we get recirculated back this way. So can you elaborate more on your vision? What do you hope to accomplish by being in the race in itself?
My vision, coming from a person who has a very good understanding of real estate and how housing happens, my vision is to totally diminish and get rid of, abolish homelessness. Get those human beings off this street. If I could just do that over maybe 1 or 2 terms, because it's inhumane. It's why Why can't we do? Where's all the money going? Is anybody being held accountable for the direction the money's going in? And we see no discernible results ever? We need to do something about it. And I'm going to try to get into Congress and persuade enough people to become more humane when it comes to our unhoused population.
Okay. And within your vision and your frustration as well, what do you hope to accomplish by being in the race?
Thank you for the question.
Mhm.
I've told people whose doors I've knocked on and who've answered the door, I've said, I will make the district, let me repeat that. You will see the difference in the district after I have been here for 2 years. You will see improvement. And one of those ways is that to lower the temperature. All residents that I've talked to are tired of the bickering. They're tired of the partisan gridlock, the ugliness of our public rhetoric. And that's easy for me to do. I've grown up with Republicans. I've been taught about respect and decency and being an adult. I teach children, and we teach children to be kind and to be respectful, but we don't see it in our government very often. So bringing that tenor to Washington, D.C. and holding to that fast, I know I will find people who really want to return to that as well. Through partnership with everyone in the Congress, I think we can solve so many more of the problems that we suffer with now. That's just the beginning.
Thank you. Baltazar?
Okay, repeat that question one more time, please.
With your frustration or vision, and yours was both in this case, what do you hope accomplishing by being in the race or itself?
Well, let's see, my vision will be tangible deliverables. Having been heavily involved in the Eaton fires and seen how that money's been misspent and misused, I would hold, for instance, a new program. For instance, my office will be 24/7. Having been a lobbyist in DC and Sacramento, it takes 2 wings to fly the plane. I'll be more than happy to reach across the aisles, because at the end of the day, I want to be sure that everyone is being serviced through my office. And how do I do that? Well, I put a spotlight on every nonprofit in our district, and I say, this is the person you need to speak to get the money that you need to get to do what you need to do. Okay, we've wasted enough. And if you give it to the people that are boots on the ground, who know where the homeless are at, who knows what their issues are, who have to treat the homeless, have to house the homeless, have to hospitalize the homeless, that's phase 1. Phase 2 is, okay, now that they're healthy, what are you gonna do? You have to reach out to Mr. Hill here and say, we got a bunch of bodies here, can you house them? If so, what's it gonna take to do what you need to do? And it's just, to me, it's that easy, because together we can be what we can't be alone. And we, although we have a nonpartisan, 2 Dems and myself, a Republican, I always say we march divided, but we fight united. And we can all agree on one thing and one thing only, is that things need to change for the better, not for the change for the sake of change, but to change better. And what do we define as better? Better is when I can go to any random citizen in our district and say, how's your life been these last 2 years? Better or worse?
Thank you.
I was the first challenger to get into this race last year, and what I knew, the first thing I had to do was go talk to voters and understand where do they sit versus where do I sit. And what I found is that there was a lot of commonality. So in talking to thousands of voters, they said to me time and again, what are Democrats doing? Or I don't care if Trump burns down the country, because democracy doesn't work that well for me anyway. And I think that, to me, is the fundamental problem with what we've got going on in this country, which is if the country's not working so well, then people don't care if people are willing to burn it down. And so part of what I want to do in terms of vision and mission is I'm on a mission to reimagine our democracy so that it works for every generation. Whether you're Gen Z looking for a job with student loans, or you're a boomer looking to retire, or Gen X looking to move. Every generation needs to feel that the democracy works. Number 2, we need to focus not on spending, but on outcomes. I don't know how many press releases I read where the headline says, we secured X amount, millions of dollars. That's great, but what are we gonna do with it? I wanna focus on outcomes. And as a small business owner, I learned that outcomes are what matter. And the third thing is I wanna reinstitute a culture of service. The seat we are running for, that's not our seat. At best, it's rented for 2 years. The voters are the boss, and we are in service to them. And I want them to have access to us and be able to tell us what matters to them.
Well, what life experience have you had in your life that makes you a better candidate?
I've been in the service business since I was 13 years old. My first job was newspaper delivery boy. Then I worked at a candy counter at 14. At 15, I became a bagger in a grocery store, earning minimum wage. Then I got promoted to becoming a cashier, which was awesome, and even got on the express line, even better. I then did customer service phone calls, and then I was a waiter at 18 when I went to school. I came out of college having years of service experience behind me. I had student loan debt, and I had $0 in the bank. And I decided to move to New York and start a career in the communications business. Because the thing about the communications business is about understanding what people need and trying to deliver it to them. And at one point, I remember having $17 at the ATM machine in my bank account, and it only had 20s. And so I didn't have I couldn't get my $17 to buy groceries that weekend. So I know what it's like to really struggle. And through the years, as I worked in the communication business, I also had the opportunity to work in large companies. One company was a company called Yahoo, which used to be really big, had 11,000 people in it. And I had to understand how to get things done in a giant organization, similar to how the house is now. I also am a small business owner, so I understand what it's like to get results and have to live on the things that you build yourself. So that combination of service and life experience, to me, makes me an excellent candidate for District 37.
Thank you.
We repeat that question again, Donald?
What life experience have you had in your life that makes you a better candidate?
Well, I think I'm a better candidate for a few reasons. Number one, I was an Army and Navy officer. I've been in Kuwait, Panama, and Iraq. Been in all three of those wars. I believe in super servitium as being service above self, and I've proven that. My father was World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and Kwajalein, and I was in my 3 wars. My sons, one's a French Foreign Legionnaire. He's in his war in Africa. So this is what we've done. This is what we've always done. And it's a knee-jerk reaction for me to get involved when things go wrong. I'll give you, for instance, my partner and I in Powwow Parade, we were stuck there January 7th during the Eaton fires. And it wasn't the firefighters, it wasn't the sheriffs, as though they tried, Pasadena PD. They weren't pulling bodies out of burning buildings. It was Peter Roybal and Baltazar Pedalizo. Unsolicited, 80-mile-an-hour winds, fire everywhere. But having been an officer in a war zone in charge of men's lives, that was Dan a life up. So I believe in service above self, more importantly. And I don't do my best, I do what's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
What life experiences will make me a better candidate?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm like Todd in that I started work early, not as early as you, Todd, but at 16, I wanted something. And my parents said, well, I guess you better get a job. And so I started. That was straw hat pizza. Then I went on to more food service. I worked through college. I've been I temped as a secretary because I knew how to type. I've then been a teacher. I've been in education. I've worked for the city. I currently work as an educator for LAUSD. And I would like to tell my students that, as what I tell my children, that work is the most amazing satisfaction in life. Something we can devote our time and energy and our intellect to and make a difference and be proud of ourselves. Now, work has significantly or severely changed in the United States. And many of the people I've talked with find work challenging. A lady said that she had just lost her job because the art gallery that she worked at had just closed. What are we going to do about work? My focus on constituents and their needs and our changing economy along with technology and manufacturing and our relationships around the world. My focus on that, I think, make me a better candidate. And the fact that I can work with others, that's the main thing about Congress, is that we have to work with others to create policy that encourages jobs, that creates an environment where we can give people what was given to us in our Constitution, the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you. Same question.
Same question.
Yes.
Wow, my life experience. Well, just to say, I mean, I come from a family of people who serve. I like to put it this way, that my family has a tradition of public service that dates back to slavery. From being in the United States Marine Corps, I served for 6 years under Ronald Reagan. I worked 2 different maximum security prisons, providing a service. I mean, I took an oath, just like I took an oath to join the Marine Corps. In the prison, working in a prison environment, you have to have a lot of diverse skills, but the foundation of a good officer was that you have to be firm, fair, and consistent. And, you know, when you have to function in the environment of like 250 convicted felons. I mean, I've been on the prison yard when there was a full-blown riot, and you have to keep your head. You have to know exactly what to do. And it provides a service. You're incarcerating people who probably shouldn't be on the streets. And my life experience, even as a business owner for the last 20 years as a real estate appraiser, I considered it providing a public service to the community. Because once again, in real estate appraisal, doing valuations, you want to be honest. You don't want to be opinionated. You don't want to be biased, because when you do that, somebody in that transaction is getting screwed over. So you have to be fair. And that kind of things that, you know, probably not good for a politician, but I think those are the characteristics that a politician should have.
So in your opinion, what is the biggest flaw in Congress as it exists today?
Money. All of the politicians are bought and sold. AIPAC has just about purchased all of Congress. Corporations, insider trading. I mean, the whole place is dysfunctional.
So how do you plan to combat that flaw?
Bring people together. Be honest. People need to hear the truth, for one, and bring people together. I find that one of my better traits is the ability to bring people together. And
So
when
is-
you come together, you work together. And when you work together, you get things done.
So is that what a healthy Congress looks like to you, or you have a different
Yes.
vision besides the money?
I think that once you get money out of politics and people are actually going to Congress with the motivation of helping and serving and improving our democracy, I think that'll go 90%, because you'll have a better quality of people.
Okay, so you also believe money is the issue, or you have your own opinion?
Absolutely. Number one is money is the issue.
Mhm.
And money suffuses politics, because it's not only corporate PACs, it's not only AIPAC, it's not only special interests.
So how do you plan to combat that?
Let me add a second though.
Okay,
Partisanship is one of the problems. You can defeat a group of people by separating them,
Mhm.
by making them fight each other, and that's what's happened to us. I've had Democrats speak to me about that I have nothing wrong. I see nothing wrong with conservatism or old-fashioned Republicanism. It's the current administration and how it's using the Republican Party. I agree with that. I think even Democrats, it's a big tent. There are conservative Democrats. There are liberal Democrats. We all need to work together to solve problems for constituents. So let's get money out by banning stock trading, by making elections shorter and publicly funded,
Mhm.
we all worked so hard to simply get our ideas heard, to be seen. And it's very, very difficult when all the systems favor the incumbent. The incumbent has a natural 365-day-a-year platform to talk to thousands and thousands of people. And even with 4 Democrats in the race, we had a hard time getting our ideas heard.
So does that go for a healthy Congress in your vision, or that's what you would like to create that
Absolutely.
environment? Okay.
I see. It's a very difficult job. There is a lot of traveling. There is a lot of stress. There will still be conflict, but we will work with conflict to solve problems. And if there's not so much money in Congress, then people will be looking for the next person to take their place, because they will look forward to retiring, as I do when I'm 70. I turned 60, and that was part of the reason that I started to run. What am I going to do to help this ailing, struggling world right now? And when am I going to stop? I'm going to stop at 70, because there's a good generation coming forward. I'm very proud of the youth. We have to hold the ball a little bit longer, because I feel that my generation, people of my age in our 60s, we helped create this. For 10 years, I've been trying to combat climate change and was unsuccessful. I can be successful in Congress. But thank you for the
Thank
question.
you. Baltazar, what
Repeat
is
the question one more
what
time.
is your opinion?
Well, I think transparency. As a registered lobbyist in Sacramento and DC, I've helped pass many laws. I helped create the Miwok statue at Capitol Park in Sacramento. We passed AB 1501, the Native American Education Act. And I understand, but if you take money out of it, the second is transparency. So we find out who all the players are, who's going for this bill, what they get out of it, why they support it the way they support it, and why they don't, more than that. And I think through that, if we put everybody in the fishbowl, then they let the public decide. I'm not in it for the money. I don't think any of my competitors are in it for the money. We just want something better, because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, it takes 2 wings to fly the plane. And more than that, the end user, the citizen of the 37th district, needs to say, hey, I can reach out to Baltazar's office 24/7 and get a work order for the day I call, and get accountability 4 days later of what my issue is. And we do that in corporate. When your desktop is malfunctioning, you contact IT. IT gives you a work order number. It gets resolved. If it doesn't, they get somebody who can fix it. At the end of the day, we have all the money in the world. If we've learned anything through what's happened in in Minnesota with all the Somalians, is that we have all the money in the world. Ukraine, Iran, we got what we want to do when we want to do it. And I want that money circled back to the constituents, because at the end of the day, it's their money. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you mind repeating the question?
Excuse me. What is your opinion that Congress has? The biggest flaw that Congress has right now.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for that question. So in talking to voters, if there was one refrain I heard more than others, it is, Congress is broken and I want it to change. I don't understand why nothing's getting done. And when you look at the Constitution, Article 1 of the Constitution says very clearly what Congress's role is. Congress has a lot of roles, but its 2 biggest roles are, it is supposed to allocate our dollars and it's supposed to write our laws. And what this Congress has done is it has abdicated its responsibility to the executive branch. I know we're going to talk about this later, but it comes to fruition when you think about what's going on in Iran or any of the other things that the executive decides to do by themselves.
So how do you plan to combat that flaw?
Yeah, so a couple of things. The first thing is the current Democratic Party is not aligned with what voters feel in their hearts. Voters want to see a lot more fight, a lot more understanding, and a lot more of this ability to recognize that the world has changed. We are no longer in this 1990s era of politics. So if I were in Congress right now, the first thing I would do is I would get a coalition of representatives together and say, what are our first 10 priorities going to be? I would then be out there every day in press and TikTok live streams, whatever it would be, telling the world what our priorities are going to be. I would then make sure that the top 3 of them are going to be addressed right away. Stop ICE funding on day 1, freeze healthcare premiums because that is bankrupting us, and do something about grocery prices. And it could be 4 things, it could be 5 things. But the point is that what we need is a new generation of leaders who understand this moment and recognize that we have to show up with the fight that voters feel in their heart.
So can you reiterate what you just stated in regards to Congress and their role as far as the financial aspect?
When you say the financial aspect.
Yeah, you said 2 roles for Congress, you said.
Oh, yes, of course. So Congress has 2 broad roles in general. One is writing our laws and spending our money.
Okay, so with that, for the working and middle class residents of Los Angeles, how are you going to ease the economic burden?
Yes, great question. So there's a couple of things that matter here. So the first thing is a lot of focus is often around how do we save people money? And so there needs to be a whole bunch of things around, let's freeze healthcare premiums, let's limit interest rates on grocery prices, let's do $50 urgent care visits for everyone, even if you don't have insurance. So on one side, we need to figure out how to rein in costs because inflation is the #1 issue in the country that we are facing right now. On the other side, it's about, well, okay, how do we build wealth? Because wealth matters too. And when we look at the district and the economics of this district, we see that the housing prices are just like the rest of LA, but the incomes don't match. So we have one of the highest rental rates in the city of LA and the lowest homeownership rates. So for example, I think renters should get a tax deduction just like homeowners. We have so many renters in the district. Can you imagine how much money could be saved if they were to do that? So in summary, it's we have to help build wealth. We also have to help save money at the same time.
Thank you. Baltazar, same question.
I'll repeat that question for me one more time.
What is the best way to ease the economic burden on middle and working class residents of Los Angeles?
Well, let's see. I would take down what the criteria is of what the problem is, just like to follow up on what Todd said, just to footnote that. I would do the same thing he's doing, but I'd also do it on a more granular basis and talk to the big business people and say, hey, because structure follows strategy. What do we need to do? How do we need to do it? How fast can we get this done? Because effectively 24 months is a very short period of time. Not to give excuses, but that would lead us to an immediate impact. And what would we do is build a coalition of people and just say, hey, we want to take care of this state within the state of California. So if there were representatives, Steve Hill and Elizabeth were representatives of the North, and he and I in the South, let's get together and see what we can do and how we can do it and how fast we can do it. I think, again, we go right back to together we can be what we can't be alone.
Yeah. Same question.
Thank you. Cool. It's a great thing to wrestle with because we all want this for families. We're all seeing that people are sacrificing simple and basic needs of life right now, while some people in our country are very, very wealthy. I won't belabor that, but say, how do we begin to solve that? 2 things, 2 levers that sound very progressive, almost sound communist, but are supported by editorials and by stories in the Wall Street Journal, the nation's top financial newspaper. One is a carbon price we're not talking about carbon right now though, a carbon price to reduce emissions to help us move away from global warming. The second though, that would save people money and make people well is decouple healthcare from employment. We have such energy for business here, but business, especially small business, is hobbled by the need to provide healthcare for people. And so we have business that can't grow because of all the regulations, but all the need to provide healthcare for employees. And the second thing is that people aren't staying well because getting a job is like winning the healthcare lottery. And not to have that job, especially in a time of employment volatility, means that people aren't as well as they need to be. So it's not going to be instant, but I think making sure that people are well and easing employers from the necessity to provide healthcare to people will show differences in our economy pretty instantly.
Okay, thank you.
Repeat the question, please.
What is the best way to ease the economic burden on the middle and working class residents of Los Angeles?
Okay. I see this as the best way. And when I get into Congress, I will be fighting for a UBI for all of the residents of the district, which is a universal basic income. I mean, the disparity between the rich and the poor and how much they're paying and the way they're trying to bust unions and people just not being able to obtain a living wage. I mean, we talk about affordability. I remember when the definition of market value for a home used to be the most probable price that a proper person would pay under the conditions requisite to a fair sale, with both buyer and the seller being well-informed, acting prudently, and the sale isn't affected by any outdue or undue influence. That's not market value anymore. Median age of a first-time homeowner now is 41 years old. That's way out of whack. That means wages are not keeping up with anywhere near a decent standard of living for an American citizen. And I think we've already reached the tipping point where we need to either subsidize housing, to drop the median age of first-time homeowners, which should be typically, historically, in their 30s.
Now, do you believe that you can complete that task within your first year of office?
Not in the first year. It's probably going to be into my second term because it's going to take a lot of convincing, because there's going to be, I'm sure, some attacks and some negative connotation attached, because people are going to start screaming socialism. I don't look at it as socialism. I look at it as being a human being.
So what do you believe what they call low-hanging fruit, a dire need that needs to be addressed within your first term that you can accomplish?
Like I said, homelessness.
Within 1 year?
I would hope so. I would hope to have enough people that I've convinced that we are in dire need of getting human beings off the street and sleeping in concrete at night.
Because our current mayor, Karen Bass, has been in office for 4 years, and we have been in a state of emergency in regards to homelessness.
Right, and all I would say is, where's all the damn money going? Where's the money going? Who's being held accountable? You got all of these county commissions, task force agencies, but yet the condition persists. We need to hold people accountable.
Okay, thank you. What is something that you want to accomplish that you don't think can be done in the current political or historical environments?
I'd like to answer the first question, which was what I think I could do in the first 2 years of office.
Yeah,
And
well,
what-
actually the first one, the first term.
1 year, the first
yeah.
term, I can pass a ban on all stock trades. Now, the incumbent did write on a questionnaire for Southern California News Group that she is against all insider trading. And that's a slippery way to say there shouldn't be a ban on individual stock tradings. So it's saying, yeah, sure, insider trading is illegal and it's happening. So unless you put a ban on individual stock trades, that's a catch me. Catch me if you can. And we haven't indicted people yet who have benefited by the billions in insider trading. So I would ban stock trades on day one. I think also there's an appetite to pass comprehensive immigration reform. That's another thing that would really help our environment, our economy, because we have a lot of industry in the United States, and some part of it is immigrant labor. And we have greatly hurt that labor and hurt our businesses because we have taken workers away in a violent and cruel way. It's completely unjustified. So immigration reform, take away stock trades. And the third thing I would do immediately was propose that we as a Congress return to, it's called, I'll forget now, it's called a regular order. It's called no omnibus spending bills, where you have Congress members who say, I don't know what I just signed. my bill's in there because I was promised, that my legislation would pass, but it's a 1,000-page document. I voted for it because I want my legislation to pass, but I can't say what else I signed up for. We're doing that. And the leadership of whichever party controls the Rules Committee. They do special committees, ad hoc committees, instead of regular order, instead of how the Constitution laid out that we're supposed to have slow, deliberative, bipartisan policymaking. And we've moved from that from crisis to crisis. We can stop that by reducing leadership's role in the day-to-day movement of Congress and ensuring that we have a single bill that's transparent, that works its way through the committees with experts, and the people can see it, and then it's voted on.
Okay, thank you. So Baltazar, on that same question, what is something that you think that you can accomplish that the incumbent did not, that you can do in your first term?
Well, I think accountability. Like I said, you call my office 24 hours a day, 365, you'll get a work order, you're gonna get a notice of what your status of your issues within 4 days after your call. I think building that type of culture, building that type of level of expectation, and knowing what needs to be done, then we can go out and figure out how it needs to be done and where we can do to get it done at. So I think bringing that level of expectation, that type of transparency and visibility and accountability, then I can go to my partners and say, these are what my constituents say, what say you? Because again, like I said earlier, structure follows strategy, and our strategy makes everything better. So then these are the elements that need to make things better.
Thank you.
On day one, I would vote to ban stock trading. I would vote for term limits. I would vote to impeach anyone deemed to have done something negligent. In year one, I would focus on freezing healthcare premiums. I would focus on limiting interest rates on grocery prices. I would focus on changing how we're funding the cities. So almost $1 billion, give or take, of funding comes from federal to local. And it's not outcome-based. We are supposed to be building 75,000 homes in the city of LA every year. We don't do that. And federal government funds part of that. If we don't meet the mark, the money gets pulled back, the money gets frozen. So I would want to change us to outcome-based spending as a general rule across the board.
Thank you so much. This comment is coming from a viewer that's watching. It asks, will you take corporate donations? If yes, which corporations? Will you pledge to refuse AIPAC and other super PAC donations and further? Will you refuse any large donations from special interest groups? Will you pledge to fight to overturn Citizens United?
On the last question, yes. On the rest of it, I don't remember the order, but I'll say it again. I got it. So I've taken $0 from corporate, $0 from APAC, $0 from any PAC. I'm 100% voter supported. And here's what I will tell you. In this world that we have all entered, we have now all seen firsthand the damage that big money does in politics. Because what I'll tell you is I've seen it now with other folks, no one on the stage, but other folks who run for office, is they take, $5,000, $10,000 from an oil company or a crypto firm, and suddenly there's legislation that is really favorable to an oil company or a crypto firm, and there isn't actually legislation that helps the voters. And so I would definitely vote to overturn Citizens United, because there's a difference between an individual voter giving $50 to a candidate they believe in and someone like Elon Musk giving Donald Trump $255 million. That second example should not be happening in the United States.
Thank you.
Say that one more time.
So it's a series of questions all
Sure.
boiled into one. First off, would you take large donations from corporate?
No, and the reason being is because, my thinking is this: maybe I would, maybe I wouldn't, but that would never change my perspective. My standing order is to serve the community of the 37. That's every individual, from K through 12, from USC to the Loyola to LA Southwest to everything in between. Those have to align with my morals and my standing order, which is to help the citizens. Am I going to turn down all the money? More than likely, yes. because they don't sit in line with what I want to do for the district. And the district, again, is to make it better.
Okay, will you pledge to refuse AIPAC and other super PAC donations?
Yes, anything that, if it does not help the people of the United States, because I don't want your son, my boy, or my other boy, or any of all my other sons to fight a war that does not benefit an American, not at all. Because I only got one of him. There's many wars out there, and my father's fought in all of them. I've fought in all of them, and I don't see the standing better. I'll give you, for instance, my father told me. He said, "Son, do you realize that young men who don't know each other kill each other for old men who do? Just keep your head on a swivel."
And before we continue, I just would like to let the viewers know what that acronym stands for. It stands for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Would you like to?
Thank you for that question. I will take no money. I don't want to take any money from anyone. We don't realize how much it warps us, we think. I know a city in the Midwest that has a major industry, and that major industry put in a mayor. And that mayor follows that industry. She doesn't need to talk to the residents. I want to talk to the residents. I want to be free and clear, to not have the phone ring and have me have to answer it because that person funded my campaign. I want my focus to be on the people that I'm serving, not any special interest. And that includes rich individuals, that includes special interests, that includes the Democratic Party. It becomes its own self-serving thing. You know that politicians will give money to other politicians within their party. And it becomes also this corrosive thing. The incumbent here has easily, I think, 10 times as much in their war chest that any of us do. The second richest person in this race has less than 10% of what the incumbent has, but the incumbent is still running ads that says, please give, please give. And why? Where does that money go? Well, I've been finding out where that money goes. It goes to other politicians. And what does that buy? Because you know what? It always buys something. And it helps a person flood the zone with flyers, with ads, all of which are very carefully crafted to create an effect, because they have experts that know how our psychology works, whether it's fear, mostly fear, innuendo, and where it's not our actual conversation, it's not our actual ideas, but it's influence. I like people to think about how they're being influenced. A lady, I knocked on her door and she spoke mostly Spanish, and she brought her flyers to me, and they were all in English, but they were a stack of flyers because she was a regular voter. Regular voters get the most flyers, and she was getting pushed, but they were all in English. She mostly spoke Spanish, and she said, "What did he say? What did he say?"
Will you pledge to fight to overturn Citizens United?
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think there will be singing and dancing on the floor of Congress when that happens.
Mr. Hill?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This should be real short. I'm not taking any donations from nobody. You go to my campaign website, there is no donation button on my website. You can't give to my campaign. I don't want your money, I want your vote. It would be hypocritical for me to sit here screaming and yelling about getting money out of politics and then ask for money. So I funded my own campaign. And of course, as soon as I get to DC, I will be attacking the problem of Citizens United, because corporations are not people. And if you don't take money from people, that means the people have the power, not corporations, not special interest groups, not AIPAC. The people maintain the power when their politicians aren't bought and sold. So I'm not taking donations from no one. Self-funded campaign, period.
So what policy would you support or create in regards to the war in Iran or in regards to Gaza?
Policy?
Mhm.
Policy would be bring the troops back right now. And if Iran, who is a sovereign nation, wants to have nuclear weapons, what business is it of ours? From my perspective, we're fighting this for Israel, not for the stability of the Middle East. We're fighting a war for Israel. And now we can't get out of it. You know, these wars are really easy to get into, but very difficult to get out of. And Gaza, I view Gaza as a genocide. And I think Netanyahu, primate, should be brought up on war charges.
I want to pass that question to Baltazar because he has lived experience in the military. So what policy would you support or create in regards to the war in Iran, in regards to Gaza?
Well, I'm a big lessons learned guy. And the best way for us to get out of Iran is just to pull out of Iran. We've done enough damage there. Let Israel take care of Israel, Iran take care of Iran. I mean, look what happened to us in Afghanistan. We just got in the plane and left. Look what happened to us in Saigon. We got in the plane and left. Look what was happening in Lebanon when they bombed the embassy. We got in the plane and left. There's no easy way out but just to leave. And unfortunately, again, I go, the crime that pays is the crime that stays. We should have never went there. Who benefited? Who's going to benefit? Even on the rebuild, we'll take another, just to footnote that. We have the Eden fires. Who's benefited from those fires? Who benefits from the rebuild in Palisades? Why did it take so long? We're 16 months in, and there are no more than 20 houses being built in Altadena. And Altadena is a whole lot more robust than Palisades. Palisades, there may be 2 houses, and I wonder, how do those 2 houses get paid? Because you had to pay a lobbyist to get past to go through that that permit process. Somebody has to know somebody to get this facilitated. So again, no, there's no easy way out. There's a lot of easy ways in. But again, if you justify who's getting paid off of this, key bono, who benefits? And it's not us. We're the piggy bank of the world. If we stop foreign aid today, no one would have, everyone in the world would have to make choices. Do we put bullets or butter? And at that point in time, values are clear, decisions are easy.
Thank you.
Can I answer that?
Yes.
Because it's very important to constituents, in my opinion, especially on the western side of the district. They've asked me specifically. And regarding Gaza, I would stop all offensive weapon supplies or funding to Israel. We have supplied defensive weaponry. I understand that it's a fraught situation and they are not surrounded by allies but by enemies. They need to protect themselves. But the situation that we have seen little bits of in Gaza and to the Palestinians is horrifying. And so I would stop all funding of offensive weapons of war to Israel until we had stabilization of that community, an agreement, and also press, because that's another thing. They have not allowed us the press there. And in Iran, I find that we forget that we're America. It seemed like we were acting simply like power was what we stood for. Especially now that Donald Trump has doubled down on the nuclear capability. My impression when we started this was it was regime change because he was trying to help 80% of the Iranian population who has lived for 45, 47 years under a repressive regime. And in terms of what I believe America stands for, it stands for protecting people against repressive regimes like that. So I would like to get into deep and serious conversations with our allies and with experts on this to see, before we withdraw from Iran, what can we do to move into time to say, how do we support the Iranian people? It's a complicated question and I have no answers, but I think we owe it to the Iranian people and we owe it to the American people to take that stature that we have had for hundreds of years and help solve that problem.
Thank you.
When I talk to voters and I would ask 10 of them, why are we in Iran? I would get 10 different answers. And the fact is nobody can really answer why we're in Iran. One of the reasons we are in Iran is because of something I brought up earlier, which is Congress has given away its power. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution clearly says Congress has the ability to declare war. We are at war in a situation that Congress did not have a say in. Congress has given away its power. So that's issue number 1. Issue number 2, nobody knows why we're there. If you don't know why we're there, you don't know what success looks like. You don't know how to get out. And number 3, what I'm really worried about is the fact that we've lost 15 servicemen. Civilians have been killed on the ground, and nobody has a plan for how it's going to wrap up or how we're going to get out. So in terms of Iran, I don't want to fund it anymore because it's $1.9 billion a day. And many folks in our district and Americans across the country could really use that money for other things like healthcare. But I would fund enough to make sure our troops get home safely. That to me would be very important. And then in the long run, when I'm in Congress, I'm not going to sit by and just let an executive branch go and declare war without Congress having a say.
Thank you for that. Will you support terms limits for Congress members, including senators?
Yes, in the House, I would support term limits of 9 terms, which is 18 years. In the Senate as well.
Baltazar?
Yes, I'd support it. I'd say 6 years in the Congress, and then I don't know what the Senate does, but no more than 3 terms there, if not 2. I mean, you know, you had a job before you got into this job, so go back to your old job or call it a day, one of the 2. But to sit here forever and a day, I've never met Diane Feinstein. If you really love this job to be here on the last day or the day you die, John McCain, is it this job that important that you have to be at the job the day you die? And God knows who, now those are just the 2 that we know. I've never loved a job that much where I had to be there on the day I die. I mean, I love the military. I love being of service, but not to the day I die. I have better things to do the day I die than to cast the vote. Thank you.
I love John McCain. Just saying, I would not give him term limits. But, and I haven't heard 18 years before. I've heard 6. And 6 to me is too short. My opinion is if we take money out of politics, if it's not a position where you can gain a fortune, then people will more likely find it so hard a job that they will want to retire from it. But if it's an 18-year term limit, I can accept that.
Strict term limits, 2 terms in the Senate, for the House, 3 terms. That is the biggest problem in politics now, is because these people, these career politicians, get in office, they build influence and wealth and too much power. And as we all know, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's why our government is dysfunctional. We need term limits. Maxine Waters is how old? How many terms? And I love her. You know, she's from my hometown of St. Louis. But how long do you need to serve? Are you not being effective? Now, if I wasn't effective, I'd stay there forever. But I just want to do a couple of terms, get a couple of things done specifically, help on affordability, and help cure our homeless problem. And that'll be that. But yes, we need strict term limits immediately. And I plan on limiting Sydney's terms real quick.
Wait a minute, Ms. Dave. You are absolutely right about terms. But I want to make sure that the viewers get to understand you completely. This is your opportunity to speak heartfelt without the political jargon and everything, and just letting your viewers know, why are you the best candidate for this position?
I'm the best candidate because I have a history of service. And serving is my only motivation. I have enough money to live off the rest of my life. I have no financial obligations. I come from a family of service. And when your intentions are pure, clean, and honest, that's the best qualification for public service. No motivation, no greed, no power trip, egos, nothing like that. Just service. And I know our government can do better. We've got look at the shape of our country. We can do better. That's why I want to serve.
Question. I live and breathe policy. I have for many years. I've bored my family and friends with discussion of how does this work? Why is this like this? Because if you look at any situation, you'll see policy beneath it. How our traffic moves, there's a policy, there's a committee, and they talked about it. And I looked at our Congress and I saw that things just weren't working to the benefit of the people. We weren't making long-term movement toward equality. So all of you knew that we gutted the United States of manufacturing. That was policy. And we were sold that. We were told that by this top-down government that has for some time now told us how it should be. And it didn't rise from the bottom. It didn't rise from the people to say, this is what we want. We want all manufacturing to leave so we can buy cheap Chinese goods. That didn't come. So when Doge emptied the offices of Washington, D.C., and you saw all that footage of people carrying their boxes, I thought, that's just the most current wave of people losing their jobs. We didn't see when many farmers had to leave their farms because of the commodification of farming. We didn't see the people having to leave their jobs and the Rust Belt following. So when does it stop? We have to start rebuilding. The time is now. I have an appetite for it and a passion, and that's why I think I'm the best candidate.
Well, Baltazar Pedalizo, the reason I think I'm the best candidate because I have the curriculum vitae. I own a food bank here in South Central, Nature's Hotline. It is the oldest food bank in South Central. I've been the owner of it since 2022, since I first began running for the seat. I was in the Eaton fires, been in 3 wars, passed his prologue. I'm sure that my grandson will be in some war somewhere when he's born. We've served the country of the United States forever and today, and we will continue to serve. This is just another form of our service. But in this form of service, I like to take lessons learned. I don't want to reinvent anything. I want to go with what works, make it more robust, expand it, cross-train a lot of people so the expertise is not in the individual, but in the workflow. So in the future, we can look back and say, yeah, I participated in the grooming of that particular individual to become a better leader when it counted, not when it was convenient.
Thank you. So like I said in the beginning, my name is Todd Lombardo. And the reason I'm the best candidate here is because I know it's wrong and I have a plan to fix it. This is not just going to be about, we have to be anti-Trump, we have to be anti-corruption, we have to be anti the status quo. We're probably all of those things, but we must have a proactive vision for how we want to move forward in a way that inspires a new generation of Americans to pursue their American dream. I am a great-grandson of immigrants who came here from Italy through Ellis Island to pursue their own American dream. So when I sit here and say this, what I mean is, number one, I'm on a mission to reimagine our democracy so that it works for every generation, whether you are Gen Z looking for a job, or whether you're Gen X, whether you're a millennial, whether you're a boomer, no matter who you are, this democracy has to work. If we don't get this democracy working, nothing else we do matters because nothing's going to get done. Number two, I want to focus on outcomes, not spending. I'm really tired of the solution just being to throw more money at a problem and then the money disappears. We've talked about a lot of those problems on this stage today. Outcome focused, not spending focused. And number three, I want to instill a culture of service into this role. This seat we're all running for belongs to the voters. I want town halls, I want phones answered, I want emails responded to, I want open hours, I want live streams. All of you voters deserve that from your representative from District 37, and that is why I am the best candidate for this job. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the faces behind the names on your voters' registration. Please, if you have not done so already, review your ballot and make sure you get to the polls by June 2nd and mail in your votes. I'm signing off. Good evening.
Good job, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is somebody.
Next one we have is a duet.
Okay, I got a show the 23rd at down upstairs comedy club.
Okay. So
Is that the one in the valley? In,
No, it's downtown LA.
okay.
That was my first time ever doing this, just to be.
Wow,
disclaimer,
really?
hopefully. It came out
You
good.
were amazing.
Yeah.
I love how you threw in like an audience question.